I'd like to call this meeting of the Show Low City Council to order. Show that all council members are present except for Vice Mayor Kakavas, who's out of town. Tonight, I've asked Councilman Judd to lead in the invocation, followed by the pledge from Councilman Hatch. If you'd like to stand up and join us, you may do so.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this opportunity we have to meet together this evening for our city council meeting. We're grateful for the members of the public that have come to join us, and we ask that Thou will watch over and protect us, to keep us safe, and to bless us with Thy Spirit this evening. And please help us to make decisions that would be good for the community and good for and follow Thy path. And we ask that Thou will bless our law enforcement and our first responders, that they can be looked after and safe and protected as they're helping to keep our community safe. And we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Judd. Councilman Hatch, appreciate that. Okay, next item on the agenda is call to the public. Any citizen desire to speak on a matter that is within the jurisdiction of the city council may do so at this time. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person and shall be addressed to the city council as a whole and not to any individual member. Issues raised shall be limited to those within the jurisdiction of the city council. Pursuant to Arizona open meeting law, the city council cannot discuss or act on any items presented at this time. At the conclusion of the call of the public, individual city councils may respond to criticisms made by those who have spoken, ask staff to review a matter, ask the matter to be put on future agenda. I do have one. How do you say that last name?
Ballinger.
This is Bowens? Bowens? Thank you. I did say it right?
Close enough.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Ravon Bowens, Sholo Bluff. I'd like to speak about secular invocations at city council meetings. About 1/4 of Arizona's and 1/3 of Navajo County residents don't have any religious affiliation. The younger generation is close to 35% now that have nothing to do with God or religion. These taxpayers have to come before city councils to resolve all sorts of problems. None of them have to do anything with religion. When a local government starts a meeting with a specific religious prayer, in this case Christian, it's easy for people of other beliefs to know that they're not being represented. If a government body proselytizes a religion, it amounts to an endorsement and it excludes people who don't have those beliefs. If the council wishes to pray together before the meeting, they could do it in private. Otherwise, it's a statement to the public that you honor one religion and you might be biased against other beliefs. An invocation can be done without a prayer, just a moment of silence or your city mission statement, or a secular option like, let's all remember we're here to work together for the good of the community. Sometimes I think it helps to think of religion as either a shield or a sword. A religious shield protects you from having other people or government entities stop you from observing your religion on your own time and your own dime in your own private place. But a religious sword is a weapon that's used to violate the First Amendment and insist that people who are at government entities hear about a certain religion. I believe the best policy is to start government meetings with a secular prayer. Many secular communities in Arizona have guidelines, and I would be happy to share those at any time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll have staff look into that and you can share that information with them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda under special events is Business Cumber Incubator and Commercial Kitchen Facility Studies Session. Study presentation, Mr. North. I'm introducing you. You get to introduce them.
I didn't know I was doing this evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Without further ado, I want to introduce our Russ Yelton and Donald Laughlin to come up and present a final report of our business incubator feasibility study.
Thank you, sir. Did you guys have a long day today, or was it good?
There was a lot going on today.
It was long, but it was really good.
Good. I'm sorry I couldn't join you today, but it was nice seeing you guys last night, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, for having us tonight. We're excited to share with you the results of the study that we've been working on for several months here on a possible business incubator in Show Low. My name is Russ Yelton. I'm president of Yelton Associates. I've been working on incubators since 2004, both domestically and internationally. I'm responsible for the creation of 6 different programs across the state, including incubators, accelerators, and co-work stations.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Donald Laughlin. I assisted in this project and have been really pleased to do so. Throughout this project, we have worked very closely with city staff, and so thank you to not only the council, but the city staff. Everyone has participated in this process. From the beginning, from a quick project overview, we signed a statement of work. The city staff assisted us in creating an extensive list of stakeholders, both from city employee standpoint as well as in the community. We did many individual interviews. Out of those interviews came a kitchen roundtable conversations focused specifically on anyone involved with food. There is also a construction industry roundtable. And then we also actually went to the high school and spoke to their future business leaders of America and had an assembly there. So all of those data sources are combined in the information that we're presenting to you today.
The incubators were created in the 1950s, really as a result of communities wanting to create the types of industry and jobs that they felt were more pertinent within their community. There's now incubators, as I said earlier, around the globe, all types of programs from general use to life science, technology, art incubators, really dependent upon the types of things a community wants. So an incubator typically provides space for companies to come in. They're selected through a process. The day you come in, we're talking about the day you're going to leave. It's not a forever thing. You're supposed to grow your business into the community and then graduate out into it. The second type of this is an accelerator. It's typically a program more on the technology side that has a loan fund that takes equity in those particular companies and helps them exit out. The third is co-work space, which is just general co-working space. It may provide free Wi-Fi, a place for entrepreneurs to come together, to share ideas, share things. And then some programs use a combination of these different things. So an incubator may, for example, have a revolving loan fund. It may have shared equipment, really dependent upon the type of program. So in order to determine what type of program a community needs, we do a feasibility study, if it even needs one at all, in this case. And so that's the results we'll be presenting to you.
Overall, as we have gone through this project, there have been several things that have been markedly interesting about this project. One of them is the universal support and the consistency of the issues that we have found as we have gone through those different stages mentioned earlier. From a project finding standpoint, primary issues, a strong concern to diversify the local economy, concern about availability of skills, knowledge, labor, concern about the youth and keeping them on the mountain. There's a real consistency of all of these messages. From a secondary standpoint, issues about jobs, issues of affordable housing, low motivation of people seeking jobs or saying they want jobs. Just again, consistent messages throughout these conversations.
So when we take all the data that we've looked at, there's 3 possible outcomes. One is what we say is a no-go. There is not enough support within the community. It doesn't make sense for a community to spend additional time and resources considering such a program. The second is a conditional go, where a community demonstrates a lot of the pieces that are needed, but there's still some additional work to verify that a program could be sustainable and successful within that community. The third is a go, where the community has everything that they need and they're ready to move forward with the program. Our findings for Show Low was a conditional go. There's a lot of support. You have a potential existing facility. There's several different verticals that could be supported with this program. So the next steps of this would be putting together a full business plan, putting together the financial feasibility for this over the long term, putting together your management and having a strong program that also has a lot of, in our opinions, requirements of people coming in, so we ensure that the people going through the program have the biggest chance of success. So the first program recommendation was a general use. Incubators under this can support almost any type of industry within a community. We asked people, do you want to support retail, recreation, technology? The answer across the board was yes. So a program like this will help those individuals grow those particular businesses without a specific industry focus. Second recommendation is a shared commercial kitchen. You have an unusually large need of individuals here that shared a lot of interest with this. For example, there were several restaurant owners we interviewed who said, we have people that want us to cater a wedding, but we have to decide, do we shut our restaurant down in order to do that because we don't have facilities and not serve the public? We had food truck operators that said, we don't have adequate areas and places that we can prep and we can get food and those kind of things ready. And then there's standalone operators who operate out of their home, either under a cottage license or under no license at all. So this particular program would help people be sure that they're compliant and that they're working in a safe manner. This would provide things such as prep areas, freezers, stoves, things to help those individuals grow their businesses, whether they want to sell something at the local food market on this side of the road, or if they want to get something actually commercially produced to put into an actual grocery store.
The third program recommendation has to do with all the conversations we had about the construction sector. The people that showed up for the construction roundtable were a very diverse group. Welders, electricians, framers, roofers, across the spectrum. And there was a large demand for support. So it's a fragmented industry, and they're seeking ways to connect to each other, to support each other in that process. And it wasn't only for residential or commercial, it was both. So there was a great participation. There was a strong preference of working with local providers like Northland Pioneer College. So they're seeking to work together in ways that were very novel. Next one. Some of their consistent concerns were in reference to zoning kinds of issues, workforce labor, some of the comments we made earlier. That's where some of those workforce labor issues came in, affordable housing, childcare, some of those kinds of things. The fourth program recommendation is all around the youth. This was a key theme for almost everyone we spoke with, and it makes sense because your youth don't see that there is opportunity here. Your youth largely don't see that the available jobs are good jobs. So that means that there's educational issues. That means there's also motivational issues, and these are standard kinds of themes. What you see on this slide is one chart that is data specifically relative to information from those youth. You all have a copy of the full report. I encourage you to take a look at those charts. There's about 5 of them. They're very descriptive. This one happens to do with what would have to take place for the youth to stay on the mountain. And there's no conclusions to these things, but it is very clear that, in our opinion, there's some things that can be done to solve those issues.
So I would just like to say before moving on to this slide that the proposed areas that we're talking about, many you already have in existence. You already have construction and culinary in your high schools. So getting those youth involved early on, whether they want to become an entrepreneur or work, as a culinary chef in a restaurant, are all possibilities. The next analysis, we were asked to look at your city campus facility, the former elementary school that you have. So some of the strengths, one of the benefits of utilizing this structure is there's no need to build from the ground up. It's a much more economical, cost-effective way to get started. Plus, it's an adaptive reuse of an existing facility that's already in your community. As we said, there's existing entrepreneurial food areas that could use this type of facility that could get up running faster than something from the ground up. Weaknesses, obviously, condition of the building. It needs some work. It's been renovated, or it's taken throughout a lot of the interior pieces, so it makes it a little easier to do this. It's also located near residential homes, so we want to be careful of any noise issues for the neighborhood. Like it cannot facilitate unloading an 18-wheeler, and it cannot serve multiple food trucks at the same time.
Can't be any noisier than the school right across the street.
Yes, sir. Yes. We were thinking large delivery trucks,
Okay.
potentially.
Touche,
But
touche.
yes, little bit of nice noise next door, right? So for many communities, this could be a good first step, again, in starting a program, create some momentum for that with not as much investment. NPC has also indicated to us that they're considering a culinary program, that if the kitchen was created, they would the first year start off with Italian cooking night or those kind of things, and then they would consider in the second year putting a culinary program together, which obviously made a lot of the restaurant owners and other food individuals we were speaking to excited. Threats, we mentioned the noise, zoning, moving things in and out of the building, but we think that can be modified. And again, the inability to service more than maybe 2 food trucks at a time. So it's simply a scheduling issue from that standpoint.
The recommendations we went through, those 4 primary categories, were program recommendations. When we say we have a conditional go for this project, these are the project recommendations to make this successful and for the next phase of this program, should you want to consider that. The first step is really to finalize what are the programs that you would want to offer inside of this building. If you're to move forward with an incubator, what does that actually look like? And then, is there room in that building to do this? What does that look like? There's the business plan that Russ mentioned. There's the actual financial costing. Obviously, there needs to be some engineering work done in the building. We need to verify that it's safe and all of those kinds of things. That would all be inside of that conditional go set of recommendations. Another piece is further developing stakeholder relationships, continue to expand the work that has gone on at this point in time inside of this program. So that's a summary of the conditional go recommendations. And each of you received the final report. It's 56 pages that takes all this information and goes into greater detail. At this point in time, we'd like to actually invite up a specialist in the food areas. He's from a supportive organization that we work with called Local First. Welcome up, Gabe.
Hey everybody, my name's Gabe Gardner. I'm the Director of Food Entrepreneurship for Local First Arizona. And broadly speaking, what Local First does is we're a 501c3 nonprofit that does economic development. And we think economic development happens best when entrepreneurs do entrepreneurial things. I came into the picture in that my background is in hotels and restaurants and country clubs, and I had the good fortune to run culinary schools all over the country. And so I came to Local First, and we endeavored to start a food incubator, just like the one that Russ and Donald have been discussing. So currently, we operate 4. And what I have seen, let's see if I can make this work. Hey, look at that, putting that master's degree to work. I have seen it change the local food economy. And what's amazing about these kitchens is for a very small square footage, a relatively low footprint and resource, you can incubate 25 businesses. So as an example, we have one in Mesa. It's 2,200 square feet, and we have 27 businesses that are using it to grow their operations, right? What exactly are these things? Well, they're a space that all food businesses need. They need licensing, they need permitting, and the way that we operate them is we are removing a barrier so folks can begin a business at a simpler level. Right now, from the studies that these folks have done, there's people operating the food economy in an informal way, right? So people selling tamales on Facebook Marketplace, that sort of thing. A facility like this allows those folks to grow their business, solidify their business, legitimize their business, and become part of the formal food economy, which rising tide raises all ships. So if there is a pop-up that goes to a brewery and is selling tacos, that is good for the brick and mortar pizza shop because there's more people interested in local food. So, like as I mentioned, it gives access to these licensed, permitted, and affordable kitchen space. It also brings in one-on-one technical assistance. So simply giving someone a space is important, but where food businesses often falter is in the structure of the business. So I'm talking about food cost, labor cost, profit and loss. And in the way that Local First runs these kitchens and the way that we would suggest this being done is to provide that one-on-one technical assistance. So when someone shows up and says, hey, I make the best salsa, that's great. They may well make the best salsa, but that's not a business, right? That's making great salsa. It's all the other structural pieces that need to be put in place in order for that business to thrive and grow in a region. So that's what the one-on-one technical assistance is about. And that technical assistance begins with our Good Food Boot Camp, which is a 6-week course that goes through all of those structural beginning components. So we start with registering an LLC and an EIN, and then we move on to profit and loss. We look at digital marketing. We look at, I call it food service math, right? But it's how do you take raw product and buy it at a price, and then what do you charge for it at the end in order to realize not only revenue, which is money in the door, but profit, which is money in the pocket, right? And from there, once everyone's singing from the same songbook, so to speak, having completed this course, it makes that one-on-one incubation on an individual level much, much easier. And then here's a quote from one of our entrepreneurs, and what I love about it is the last sentence where he talks about being part of a community. It seems to me, I ate at the house tonight and had a burger, which is a national treasure, right? Like, it's great. Those people were so passionate and cared so much about what they're doing, and they're not simply serving a meal. They're serving a meal in Show Low because they believe in Show Low, right? And that's the kind of business that you want to court, you want to grow, and you want to keep, right? And this builds a community of interested food entrepreneurs that do exactly that. So anyway, just I have to shout them out because it was unbelievable. And then lastly, community kitchens are just that. They're a space for community. So at each of the 4 kitchens that Local First operates, we have some measure of community involvement. So we're not simply occupying a space. We really are part of the community. So what does that look like? We do kids gardening classes, kids cooking classes. We do a food pantry. We do community dinners. We happen to have convening space at 2 of the kitchens that we have. So we've had, the mayor and council folks into the kitchen, and we do fundraising dinners there, right? But it really does become part of the community in which it exists, as instead of simply existing in a community. So I think that's all I've got. So we would welcome any questions from you all, and I just want to thank everybody for their time.
What burger did you have?
I had the house with the green chili on it and the pepper jack cheese. Yeah, that's good.
Appreciate that.
Ooh,
Peanut butter and jelly one's next.
Green chili.
no, that one's better. That's my favorite.
It's a good one.
Any questions or comments? What is our next step? I mean, this all sounds good. I remember now that I met you guys again last night, I remember going through the process. So what is our next process for us?
Your next step, if you decide to move forward, is to move forward with the business plan development, solidify the areas that you want to focus, get your costing put together. There's different grants that you can look at with that, but it's just like any business. You're not going to start it without a plan. So the feasibility study is to see if there's even a need to do that. We strongly believe that there is.
And I noticed you made a comment about NPC. Is that not, I mean, they have a lot more property than we do. If they're thinking about moving forward with some kind of kitchen, would that be a good partnership or no?
They're not looking forward They're not looking to move forward with one at this time based on what they've told us.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But they did say that this would be a step for them to use, as I said, as kind of your community programming. And then President Hazelblocker said they were very interested in looking at culinary program long-term, which could, if they get started there, dictate later on the need for them to build their own training program.
I was actually in the high school just last week or week before last, and I didn't even know they had a kitchen. I had no idea. I have a food truck and I have a commissary that I use that I use every Sunday, so I have to go through that same process. So I understand what that's all about, so.
I do appreciate your question, though, because your question emphasizes, is there a way to take advantage of what various organizations and individuals are currently doing? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Right.
That is part of the next phase. And so really that next phase is the council's choice and conversation with your city staff, and that will define what the next step is.
Well, and your comment about the building that we've all researched and that you looked at, I see some of the comments that were in your study here about where that's located. It could be an issue where that's located. I didn't even think about the noise, and I know there's a school across the street, I get that. And the location, it is tough to get in there. And believe it or not, there is a spot that they back 18-wheelers up in there. It's
Over on the side.
there, but.
Yeah, yeah. And the ways to minimize that is, for example, if you have a food truck come in, you don't want them running their generator, right? So you run lines out that they can plug into the electric, right? So they can charge. I mean, they can, discharge some of their gray water that they need to. So it's something that I believe can be managed, but it's something that is part of our analysis that.
Huge parking lot there now.
Yes.
Right.
Any other questions? Councilman Olson?
Yes, I thank you for your presentation. I liked how you opened up that you went and talked to all the schools, FBLA. They are, we hear so much from them about, we'd like to stay up on the mountain, but there's no jobs for us, and we're gonna go someplace else. First was hearing that there was no internet. We wanted the internet. We needed this to keep it at home. And we have tons of internet providers now. And I look at this as like an extension of what MPC has right now with the NAVIT program, where people graduate from that and fire science or any of that, or electrician, welding, or anything. This, I think, will be a great thing for people to learn, just like you said, you can make salsa and everything else, but you're just making salsa. But this is a type that will teach the kids, or even teach the adults, hey, there's fundamentals that need to go with it, but also where are you gonna get your money? You got taxes, you got preparations, you got liabilities, you have all kinds of stuff. You're not just looking at cooking the food or like that. And I also like the way that you said about NPC program, or at least coming in with us, maybe to even use it or anything. So I can see that as an off-campus thing with the culinary, with the NPC, and I think that would be a great aspect for these kids and even adults to learn what it's all about. I know I have a family member that has been in the restaurant business his whole life, and you're married to it. I mean, it's 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You don't get out of it. And I think this will be a place where they can look at it and say, do I really want to do this? Do I want, with the finances and everything else, and even to prepare and to buy food and make sure everything's A-OK and health. I mean, there's so much that has to go into that I think is a great learning tool for anybody to know if they're going to go into a business. Because here in Show Low, if you start a business, I mean, it's been great, but you have to know, or you have to be prepped to be able to do a business and it may make it successful. And besides doing pizza or Mexican food. So, thank you.
Also, I would add to that, what we've talked about with both the college and the high school in this proposed facility, really, to me, is creating a pipeline to keep all of those students engaged all the way through. Because at the end, what I assume the city wants is a thriving food and beverage scene, right, to support not only tourism, but also the locals, right? And to me, all three of those things are crucial to making that occur, or to work well anyway.
Thank you.
And if I may make one more comment, when we had the kitchen round, or the food service round table, it was amazing how transparent everybody was, and the lady that was making empanadas, or, they didn't want to be making them out of their kitchen. They just didn't see that they had a choice, and they didn't know where to go to get additional information to do it the right way. And so you have a whole community of people that are trying to figure out how to do it the right way, and this simply provides a pathway for them to do that.
Judd.
Thank you for your presentation. I think it's a good idea. Who will run it? So you guys will get it off the ground. Is it going to be Steve? Is it going to be another city employee? What's the plan for who will run the incubator?
Come on, Steve. Saying no.
Steve, go!
He's our guy.
You're running it?
That would be,
It's pronounced Chef Steve, I think.
that would be part of your business plan. So one of the questions we ask that you can see in there is, do you have an existing entity that could do this? Because if there is, you don't want to recreate. The overall answer was no, you probably don't. So is that an entity that you bring in for a period of time, you train people? Or, for example, in Flagstaff, when they created their incubator in NASAT, they created a separate 501c3 and put their community members on it to oversee it, and they provided management that way. So it's really up to the city to determine how they would like to do that. Typically, in my experience, cities do not want city employees running these because you're getting into confidentiality issues with people sharing their financials, their taxes, those kind of things, and people get they don't want a records request to come up where those things become public.
That's a no, huh, Steve? Any other questions or comments?
Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank you all for being here and bringing this forward to us. I think it's a great opportunity for the city of Show Low. I would just, I guess if we give direction to staff right now, I would say, I hate that the speed that government moves. So I would like to see this move very quickly and rapidly, like bring the business plan back to us at our next meeting. That would be phenomenal. And so we can get that going. The other aspect of it is
It's 2 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I don't want, I don't want this to be just solely focused on the kitchen. I think that while I appreciate the food service industry that we have here, I can also think of individuals who live in our community, or who could be living in our community if we had a entrepreneur type incubator that, with broadband coming in and being able to build some of those businesses. Like I think of a couple of my friends, Supervisor Seymour sitting in the back, his son works up at a large IT company up in Utah, and part of the reason why he doesn't live in our community is because he had to move to a different state to find a job like that. And I think of another family that I went to high school with. They have a very large IT business that they're running out of the Salt Lake area. And it would be phenomenal if we had people like that who were able to live in our community and start those types of businesses, because those are phenomenal businesses that will give a lot of our high school students who may not be thinking about the culinary arts or the construction trade, that will give them an opportunity to stay here and to do that. So that would be my request, is to bring us back a business plan as soon as possible, and let's not get narrowly focused into just one area, because I think we have, the county and the city are putting a lot of resources into broadband and other areas that we should really be looking at it through that lens.
Councilmember, I totally agree. That's why we started with the general use as the first piece for that, because sometimes you don't know what entrepreneurs in your community are doing.
Yeah.
So that general one allows them to come in, and then if they specialize, they potentially can. But at the end of the day, all of these businesses need some of the same core things, right? They need the planning, everything, sir, you were saying. They need to know what the financials are, the liabilities. And, my first incubator, quick story. Sorry, Steve, I told you. No, I had a first client come in, and she comes in like 3 times, and the answer is no. By the time she walks out, and I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. My assistant said, that's the best thing you could have done for her. She needed to understand why not to do that. So just because you go to an incubator doesn't mean it's a yes. It's the same thing as doing a feasibility study. You got to do the work. But it does give people the framework and a much higher chance. In fact, 80% of businesses that go through an incubation program statistically are in business after 5 years. SBA statistics have it exactly opposite for others that don't.
I don't want to be talking about this incubator study a year from now. I want it to be in a very much farther along in the phases. So we need to
get
So
this
now you
going.
give them a year. We gave them 2 weeks at first.
No, I'm saying 2 weeks. It's,
So now I just gave
it's
you a
dead in the
year.
water in a year, right? I think 2 weeks, bring us a business plan and let us evaluate it.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate your time, and obviously from direction from up here, we want to go for it. City manager, you had a comment?
So just to let you know, we did meet with him this afternoon on next steps, and we're taking the next steps to move it forward.
Good.
Great.
Move it forward and keep the momentum going.
Good. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All righty, next item on the agenda is Navajo County Community Update. Supervisor Seymour, welcome to your old establishment.
This was here as incubator.
Thank you, Mayor and council and staff. It's great to be with you tonight. And when we look about trying to give an update, an overview of what's going on in the county, that's kind of my purpose today. Is you guys have been great partners of being able to work with the communities that we have throughout the different areas and the partnerships that we have with the city of Show Low. And you guys are central to the county for many things that we have. And so we appreciate your example. And there's some things that I'd just like to show what we have worked together as a county to put together and work over the last couple of years. So before I get started, I do need to recognize that we do have our county manager, Brian Layton, with us tonight. I'm grateful that he's here. And my wife endured a meeting tonight to come. Great. Just want to know one of the things that we're going to be doing is making changes. And I don't know how many of you guys look at Show Low and even know where Maverick is. How many of you guys on the council know where Maverick is? Okay. Right.
Or the gas station, yeah.
And Maverick was a little old country, main part up in the mountains of the logging country. And that's where we had a railroad that come down through here. Okay. And McNary is where, when I was a young guy, that's where we went shopping. And that's where we had the banks. That's where we had the movie theaters. That's where the recreation was. And then it moved to Holbrook. And Holbrook was where it would go to banking and all of those things. And now where does everything come? Show Low. Okay, so there's change. And that's in 60 years' time. Okay, a lot of those things happen. So when we start looking at changes in the county, we, first of all, is access to services, safety and security, sustainability, and community engagement and staff development. Those are things that are key when we work through any partnerships that we go forward. Some of the big projects that we have, just want to get out of the way of announcing that we do have a big solar. It's called Snowflake Inc., but it doesn't have anything to do with Snowflake or its town. It's located north of Holbrook, but it's a multi-billion-dollar solar farm that will be coming in. We also have the Winslow Levee that has been a project that's a $100 million project that has been approved and funded that we're working on. And so those are two big projects that's happening in the county. Okay, so proposed projects that we have working on as we start to work down around our complex. We just approved last week that we're going to be putting in some solar units that will give a little bit of shade and some cover. It's not going to cost us anything, but it's going to provide some benefits to our employees. What do we do when we look at the complex there in Holbrook over the next 25 years? Is that really what we want to build and understand what we are doing and what we want to have that space so it's more effective for the customers? It's also, how is it going to serve us going forward? So those are some things that we're working a plan and looking at. The other big part of the county is safety. Now, I don't know how many times we look at public health and public safety and your health, but we just went through COVID. We went through some of those things that were drastic measures that we had. And I think that our county did a phenomenal job. Our health department of what they did and what they stood for was vastly applauded by many people in our community. Although we had high numbers throughout the nation, as far as nation comparing in part of our county, we also had a lot of services that were rendered. And so when we look to the role of public health, I don't know, last week you guys might have heard about some foxes last month that had rabies. That falls under public health. We look at some of the sexually transmitted diseases. That falls under public health. We look at where the immunizations, all of those things are related to our public health. When we look at what we have and we look at the county of where it's growing and where the need for transitional of medicine and what we're looking at, this is just kind of a map of the different places of where we have services right now. And so when we look at the numbers and we crunch those numbers and we start looking, what did our county really do and where did these things take place? And this is kind of a big spreadsheet here of kind of shows from 2015 to 2023. South County, you can see what happened with COVID. We were doing 99,779 visits, and then that mushroomed to 30,000 in 2020, 30,687 in 21, 25,000 in 2022. In the North County, it went up a little bit, 275, 456, and 117. So when we look at these things and we look at all of the mental health, the nutrition, the death review teams, the injury prevention, teen health, all of those are focused about healthcare. And so when we see that the South County is where most of the services are needed, that's where we're going to start looking at maybe expanding down here. A lot of the opportunities that we have is through ARPA, through partnerships, fluid service models and expansion, through substance use grants, mental health grants. All of those have taken part of where can we get dollars and cents to sustain what we're doing. When we look at the South County operations down here by where you guys just put your park in your water park, that's an area that we're looking at possibly of expanding and making that a little bit larger for some of our operations here in the South County. We want to also look at what the Show Low Police Department and the county building over here that we have that we partnership with the sheriffs. That's getting kind of outgrowing that a little bit here. So somebody's got to move, and you guys are probably going to kick us out before we kick you out. But, you know, those are things that we appreciate that partnership. Our South County kiosk was one of the most used as far as recorders and paying things. The treasurers, 91% of our code compliance are from South County of Snowflake and South. Planning development services, 92% of the permits take place here. So our financial sustainability and outlook of what we're doing going forward, where do we have money to do that? We look at the general fund of where our state shared revenues are and where our general budget has been. You can see here that our revenues have actually exceeded our budget, as well as our expenditures have been less than what we've actually thought they would be. So we are on pace to do between 3.5% to 5% growth. You can see since 2019 to 2023, we've had been blessed to have some great prosperity in our county with some good growth. Right now, we just had a report last week that our general fund balance is somewhere around $30 million, and so that's a healthy general fund balance, and so we're able to do some of the projects that we have planned going forward. Kind of when we look at where we get most of our revenues from, our property tax is a very small percentage of what operates the county on, and I think you'll notice that the county is one of the 4th lowest property taxes in the state of all the 15 counties. We want to be accountable for projects that we've done. So ARPA, that was the money that we got from the federal government. We got about $22 million. About 4 years ago, we set aside and we said, how can we most use this money for the benefit of the county? And that's where we took of that $22 million, we set $10 million aside for broadband. And then we had other projects that we also partnered with many different organizations to maximize that out. So here was able to do some of these projects. Just a little bit of the background, was able to help some things up in Kayenta Fire Department. The city of Show Low was able to help you in your water park here. Was able to help some other places on the reservation, their chapter houses. Rim Country over in Heber Overguard, we helped the senior center. Was able to help the White Mountain Coalition Against Homelessness here in Show Low. Walking Down Veterans Ranch, was able to help them, and was able to help Winslow Public Library and many others. So you can see some of the summary items here that we've had of percentage of completion, as well as the dollars that we've had out. So we partnered with other organizations rather than just taking that money and using it strictly for the counties. And then the other project that's big is the broadband, as I mentioned. From 4 years when we had, I think it was April, we had our meeting in 2020, and we set aside as a Board of Supervisors that we would put $10 million of that $20 million towards broadband. We were successful in getting a grant for another, I think, $9.7 million. And so on April 23rd, we will be breaking ground for that broadband Middle Mount project that we have. On top of that, the state has been awarded $988 million that will go towards the last mile. And so it's important that we have this backbone of this middle mile going forward. So these are just kind of, save the date there for that April 23rd. They'll take place in Holbrook. Major accomplishments that we've had in our building department was able to separate our building from our roads division and was able to adopt a new permit fee schedule. We hadn't raised our permit rates for about 19 years. And so by doing that, we said we can't raise rates without improving our service. And I think we were looking at, 4 to 6 months on some permits being issued. So the first year we started monitoring this was able to get that down to 55.5 days in 22. And last year we got it down to 15.6 days in issuing a permit. That brought in a little over $930,000 additional revenues. And also now we feel like we're giving the service that they deserve and doing things. Was able to move a lot of things in the technology field. We have a major accomplished hearing officer code compliance. Arizona Smart Highways, we're working towards that. More communications through our HERF exchange and our 5-year improvement plan. With our roads department, some of the things that we did, we wanted to know where our roads stood. We wanted to know where they were as far as a score of whether they were good, fair, or bad. And so was able to evaluate all of our roads. We were able to meet with some of our contractors of suppliers. We found that Hatch was buying product from Brimhall and Brimhall was buying product from Hatch so they could create a base that we needed. Didn't make sense for them to have to buy from one another. So we changed some of the admixture designs so that they could be more competitive in their bidding and put it together. So that's helped and give us some value. And so we just think that, like you guys, if you have a lot of miles that you have to work on, I think the county has 744 miles of a road that we take care of and improve. In our sheriff's office, we're grateful to the sheriff for their support that they give, the Shola Police, you guys, and the partnerships they have together. There's been a lot of things that the sheriff has worked for on trying to find monies that's out there through border initiatives to what effect it has. But one of the biggest things that we're seeing, if you look on this on the right, you see methamphetamine used to be the drug of choice. In 2018, it wasn't very much. Then 19 and 20 and 21, it spiked. And then all of a sudden you see in 21 that fentanyl started coming up. And then fentanyl spiked in 22 and 23. We're just seeing huge amounts of fentanyl on our streets and in our areas that we're having. Overdoses in the state of Arizona last year was over 7,000 overdoses. Of those overdoses, 490 resulted in death. We have deaths in our county as a result of drug overdose. If you don't have any Narcan, you need to have it. You don't know when it's going to hit one of your kids or one of your grandchildren or you yourself. And so we found that in almost of these 7,400 cases, over 5,500 of those cases, Narcan was administered to. And had not it been administered, we don't know what the death rate would have probably been off the chart. Crime, as a result, you see crime for service has increased almost with the same amount as what you've seen the increase of the drugs. So with that, the detox goes up. Our cases of our jail costs, those things are all something that we have to then take out of our general fund to try to subsidize the result cost of drugs being imported here. Sheriff has been successful. He's able to get a $4 million border technology grant, a $3 million prosecution and imprisonment grant for a total of over $7 million that he was able to get of outside dollars. So we appreciate that. And wrapping it up here, one of the things that we care about is how we look. And everybody gets to look good. We can't, and I want to applaud Shola for getting your signs up and being able to, your welcome signs coming into the community, they look sharp. And we just look at what we can do as well to look the part so that we are always recognizable. And I want to thank our county manager for leading out on this initiative here of being able to, how is the county going to be perceived going forward? And so we're really working on our marketing of Navajo County as we go forward. And here's a couple of new entry signs that we're looking at, projecting some monument signs that we have going up. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the partnership, appreciate the opportunity we have to work together. Navajo County is is a gem. It's a county that only has 117,000 people, but we are county strong, and we are grateful to the city of Show Low for being partners. I'm grateful to have this area as part of my area of my jurisdiction that I do of District 4, along with Heber and Overgard and Pinedale and parts of Lakeside. So thank you very much, and I'm here available for any questions or comments you might have.
Supervisor Seymour, thank you again for your presentation and your partnership. It's, I like to see what you guys did with spreading the money around, and you got to pat yourself on the back for the entrance signs into Show Low, because he was part of the design phase back a few years back, so appreciate that.
I brought that before the council 16 years ago. So it does happen after.
It finally happened.
Yeah.
It did take too long, 16 years.
Yeah.
But the partnership that we have with the county is awesome, and it does take all the communities up here to work together. And I know everybody's ready for I call it the Miracle Mile, but it's not the Miracle Mile. But the broadband coming in is going to be amazing. And it touches on what they're talking about, the incubator. That's all going to fall in together. So I appreciate everything that the county does. And you're probably right. I know when we remodeled the police station, however many years ago, we thought, oh, we're never going to outgrow this. But your comment about the police station is getting to that point too already. So the expansion over there where you're talking by the park is something we're all looking forward to see where that's going to go as well by the Reed Head home. Anyway, any other comments?
Thank you, Daryl.
Councilman Olson.
I want to thank you, Daryl, too, for everything you do for the county and helping us out and helping you, just like what you've just been saying. But what I like about it is I'm glad to see that the buildings are getting full. Police department, fire department, city labor, snow trucks, everything, public works. I like it that you and the county came in with us, but I like the growth that we have to do something better now, or we have to build something bigger, because now we're growing and we're prospering and we'll be able to do things together. So
I think we can all, thank you, Councilman, I think we can all recognize that Show Low, that the White Mountains, Navajo County has been found. And there's so much growth that's happening. There was more property sold the last 2 years in Heber Overgard than the 15 years prior. Okay, and so those things, but we have a fantastic staff at Navajo County. It's just like you guys here at the city of Show Low. Your staff is important, and people who come to work, who show up, who go the extra mile to help people. We're really in the service industry, and it's the public that we serve, and it's an honor to listen to the people and to be accountable to the people and to be able to help them in every way that we can. And I appreciate that opportunity of serving. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All righty, next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. We'll consider a motion of resolution number R 2024-11, renewing intergovernmental agreement with Arizona Game and Fish, and consider the minutes of the Show Low City Council on February 20th, and the study session on February 20th, and the regular meeting also on February 20th. Entertain.
we'll move.
Got a motion to accept the minutes as read. Any a second? Got a second? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next item under new business is a public hearing and consideration application submitted by Gary Arthur Martinson and Dana Foster for a number 3 microbrewery liquor license on behalf of Buffalo Nickel Brewery for its location at 401 North Clark Road, Show Low, Arizona. Mrs. Hall.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Gary Arthur Martinson and Dana Gale Foster, representing Buffalo Nickel Brewery, submitted a liquor application for a number 3 microbrewery liquor license for its location at 402 North Clark Road. As required by state law, the property was posted and no public input was received. The Show Low Police Department has conducted a background check on the applicants and found nothing amiss. The Department of Liquor Licenses and Control conducts its own internal investigations and background checks. Based on the investigators' findings and the recommendation of the City Council, the State Liquor Board will decide whether to approve or deny the application. And just note that if the City Council chooses to recommend a denial of the application, the motion must state the reasons for the denial. And tonight, we do have 3 different ones coming to you guys, so we will have a public hearing on on all 3 of them, just individually. So this one is for the microbrewery at the new location. And Gary Martinson is here if there's any questions.
Buffalo Nickel Salon. All right. Thank you, Ms. Hall. At this time, I'm going to open it up to a public hearing. If anybody wants to make any comments or any questions. Seeing nobody sprint up here, I'll close the public hearing and turn it back over to council for a motion or questions. We got it in front of them. Questions or motions?
I move to recommend approval to the State Liquor Board of the application submitted by Gary Arthur Martinson and Dana Gale Foster for a number 3 microbrewery liquor license on behalf of Buffalo Nickel Brewery for its location at 402 North Clark Road, Shoalo, Arizona.
Thank you, sir. I got a motion. Got a second. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is also a public hearing and consideration of application submitted by Dana Gale Foster and Gary Martinson, a number 6 bar liquor license on behalf of Buffalo Nickel Brewery for its location at 402 North Clark Road in Shoalo. Mrs. Hall.
Thank you. So Dana Gale Foster and Gary Arthur Martinson, representing Buffalo Nickel Brewery, submitted a location transfer application for a number 6 bar liquor license for its location at 402 North Clark Road. This request would transfer the existing number 6 bar license from the current location at 400 North Clark Road in Shoalo to the new location. And as required by state law, the property was posted, no public input was received. Shoalo Police Department conducted a background check on the applicants, found nothing amiss, and the Department of Liquor Licenses and Control conducts its own internal investigations and background checks. Based on the investigator's findings and the recommendation of the City Council, the State Liquor Board will decide whether to approve or deny the application.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open it up to a public hearing again. Anybody want to make any comments or questions? Seeing nobody run, I'll turn it back to the council for a motion or questions. Councilman Judd,
Motion if there are no questions.
go ahead.
Move to recommend approval to the State Liquor Board of the application submitted by Dana Gale Foster and Gary Arthur Martinson for a number 6 bar liquor license on behalf of Buffalo Nickel Brewery for its location at 402 North Clark Road, Shoalo, Arizona.
Got a motion, I'll second it. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is another public hearing and consideration of applications submitted by Gary Martinson and Dana Foster for number 12 restaurant liquor license on behalf of Buffalo Bill's Tavern and Museum for its location at 400 North Clark Road, Shoalo, Arizona. Mrs. Hall.
Thank you. All right, this is the last one of them.
This year.
Well, this year, for this month. Gary Arthur Martinson and Dana Gale Foster, representing Buffalo Bill's Tavern and Museum, submitted a liquor application for number 12 restaurant liquor license for its location at 400 North Clark Road. Again, as required by state law, the property was posted, no public input was received, and same thing, Shoalo Police Department did a background check, found nothing amiss. And the State Liquor Board will decide whether to approve or deny the application.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Once again, we'll open it up to a public hearing. Nobody running up here. I'll close it and turn it back to the council for a motion or questions. Councilman Clark.
I'll move to recommend approval of the state liquor, or approval to the State Liquor Board of the application submitted by Gary Arthur Martinson and Dana Gale Foster for a number 12 restaurant liquor license on behalf of Buffalo Bill's Tavern and Museum for its location at 400 North Clark Road in Shoalo, Arizona.
Got a motion, I need a second. Got a second. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Martinson, just real quick, I want to thank you, first of all, for that building you're building over there. It's absolutely beautiful, and it fits in our community well. And I was trying to think of a question for you, but my wife told me absolutely no, because she didn't want to see you walk up to the podium and talk, because we're trying to make this a short meeting. So anyway, thank you for what you're doing in our community, and those buildings are beautiful. That brewery it fits right in there. You guys, your son does an amazing job, let me tell you that. So I appreciate everything you do for Sholo. Thank you, sir. That sounded like a whole lot of stuff just to move over here to here, didn't it?
It did.
It's amazing what the state wants you to do. All righty, next item on the agenda is consideration of a preliminary plat for an Entrada, a 40-lot subdivision submitted by Gary Stapley and Dacia Quintus Fidelity Limited, located on APN 30927-014E and also 015B and 99C. Mr. Tergaskus.
Mayor, just a question. Do we have a separate presentation, or is this all put together?
Sounds like a great question.
Okay. I'll go ahead and go through the staff report. At its regular meeting of February 27th, 24, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved by a vote of 7-0 the preliminary plat submitted by Gary Stapley of Deja Equities and Fidelity Limited for a project to be called Entrada. This project is to be located on APN 30927-014E, 015B, and 999C, and is directly south of the Whispering Trails subdivision located on Smith Ranch Road. The subject property is approximately 16.97 acres in size and is zoned R17X, which is single-family residential, 7,000 square feet, manufactured homes excluded. The submitted plat indicates a total of 40 lots with an average, maximum, and minimum lot size of 0.33 acres, or 14,374 square feet, 0.54 acres, or 23,522 square feet, and 0.23 acres, or 10,018 square feet, respectively. This project is located directly south of the existing Whispering Trails subdivision. Average, maximum, and minimum lot sizes in Whispering Trails are 0.27 acres, or 11,761 square feet, 0.37 acres, or 16,117 square feet, and 0.23 acres, or 10,018 square feet. The developer has indicated that they will utilize the same CC&Rs as are utilized by Whispering Trails. Access will be from Smith Ranch Road with an emergency access to 43rd Avenue. As indicated on the plat, a sidewalk is proposed on the south side of Smith Ranch Road adjacent to the subdivision. The existing block wall on State Route 260 will be retained. The existing block wall on 43rd Avenue will also be retained and extended to the southern portion of the property along 43rd Avenue. A new corrugated metal fence similar to the fence utilized at Eagle Mountain will be utilized on the north and south property lines. This property was rezoned from PUD, or Planned Unit Development, R17X, single-family residential, 7,000 square feet, manufactured homes excluded, through Ordinance 2006-17. All conditions of this ordinance have been met. There are several findings of fact that I will add at this point. This property was originally included in the application for Whispering Trails and is substantially similar to the originally approved preliminary plat. This plat was approved by the City Council at their regular meeting of September 19th of 2006. So this has been out there for a while. Due to the length of time from the original approval, this portion of the preliminary plat has required a resubmittal. Smith Ranch Road improvements were approved based on the original conceptual layout for both phases of Whispering Trails. Zoning of the surrounding properties includes to the north R17X, to the south and east PUD, or Planned Unit Development, and to the west AR 43, agricultural residential, 43,000 square feet. Land uses of the surrounding properties includes to the north the Whispering Trails subdivision, to the south vacant residential, to the east Eagle Mountain Planned Unit Development, and to the west Forest Service and State Route 260. Transmittal memos were sent to all affected agencies. Applicable comments were received from the Arizona Department of Transportation, or ADOT. as received from ADOT, quote, "ADOT would like a TGP 240-A traffic impact analysis pre-submittal completed to see if Smith Ranch Road can handle the additional lots," end quote. This comment has been forwarded to the applicant's engineer for response and action. After reviewing the zoning ordinance standards for review, findings of fact, discussions with the applicant, and because the request is consistent with the City of Show Low general plan, Planning and Zoning Commission approved the preliminary plat for Entrada, a 40-lot subdivision, subject to the following conditions. Number one, all development shall comply with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including ADOT requirements. And number two, a final plat shall be approved by the City Council within 12 months of approval of the preliminary plat. I would also add that not included as actual conditions of approval, but discussed with the commission and the applicant's representative, was a sidewalk, a request that the sidewalk be perhaps detached from the road rather than right along the curb line. And also that the drainage report or similar documents include culvert sizes for substantial drainage easement that runs through the property. With that, myself as well as a representative of the applicant are available for questions.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Did you say there was going to be a exit out of that property on 43rd or no?
So there's an emergency access that is proposed onto 43rd. It is down in the very southeast corner. It would not be a permanent access. It would only be utilized for emergency access for the subdivision.
And I believe the subdivision next to it's the same way, correct?
Yes.
Exactly. Smith Ranch Road obviously is going to be a concern because there's a lot of traffic on it now. And I think that's mainly from people coming from Linden, I believe. It's kind of a shortcut through there. So, any questions or comments? Thank you, sir. Okay, turn it back to the council for motions. Let me get me a hard copy on these, please. Can't move back and forth fast enough. It's too much work. We got a motion?
I got it.
You got it?
I move to approve the preliminary plat for Entrada, a 40-lot subdivision submitted by Gary Stapley of Desaya Equities and Fidelity Limited, located on APN 309-27014E, 015B, and 99-9C, subject to the conditions of approval specified by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Got a motion, got a second. Councilman Alsop, did you second that or you had a question?
I second it.
Got a second? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is consideration of award of purchase of installation of pool filters and authorize associated budget transfers. And you had it on there. I could have read it off that, huh? Mr. Austin.
Mayor and Council. In the fiscal year 2024, funds were allocated to purchase new sand filters for the Aquatic Center. The existing filters are now obsolete and parts like the lids must be fabricated, causing long delays for replacements. Due to the increase in pool use, backwash operations had to be increased 2 to 3 times the normal cycle to keep the pool in operating standards. This is a very labor-intensive and takes staff from other duties. Lastly, without proper turnover, the pool surfaces must be cleaned more often to keep the tile from yellowing, causing customer complaints. The new filters will keep the pool compliant with the Arizona Health Code water quality standards. The city would like to utilize the City of Tempe's cooperative purchasing contract T24-088-01 to purchase and install the sand filters at the Aquatic Center. Staff recommends awarding the purchase and installation of the Aquatic Center sand filters to Commercial Pool Repair in the amount not to exceed $94,479.83 and approving associated budget transfers.
Sir, any questions, comments? Filters, swimming pool. Councilman Alsop,
I'll make a motion if nobody has any questions.
go ahead.
I move to award the purchase of installation of the Aquatic Center sand filters to commercial pool repairs in an amount not to exceed $94,479.83 and approve the associated budget transfers.
Got a motion? I need a second. Got a second? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Before the next item on the agenda, I just want to bring up something that's not you, Rick, just at the next meeting, while there's a few more folks still here, Supervisor Seymour made a little bit of comment about some of the drug things that are happening in our community. In 2 weeks, you might want to come back. So the sheriff will be here to report on that a little more. Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of award of construction contract for city campus restroom, City of Show Low project number FM 624, and authorize associated budget transfers. Mr. Cup.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The City of Show Low 2024 budget includes funding for the construction of a public restroom. This restroom will be located in the pickleball complex at City Campus, and just a little bit more specific on the location. It's going to be at the northwest corner of the existing pickleball courts, so that'll be between the existing courts and the new 8 courts that we're building. This work includes, but is not necessarily limited to, the construction of a restroom facility that will include 3 ADA accessible restrooms in a single building. There will be 1 separate men's restroom with 2 stalls, 1 water closet, 1 urinal, 1 separate women's restroom with 2 water closet stalls, and a family restroom with a single water closet and an ADA adult changing station. Staff solicited bids from builders to construct the building. The request for bids was based on previously approved plans prepared by city staff. The building will be a duplicate of the recently constructed restrooms at City Park, at the old pavilion, and also at Little League. City personnel will extend water, sewer, and power utilities to the building location. The project was publicly advertised per statutory requirements, and 2 bids were received. The bid results follows. LDNB LLC, $131,500. Point Companies, $161,200. Staff recommends awarding the construction contract for Show Low Public Restroom, City of Show Low project number FM 6224 to LDNB LLC, an amount not to exceed $131,500, and authorizing the associated budget transfers. And just one more note on the budget transfers. We had a restroom budgeted for this year, and it was going to go to McCarthy Park. We originally thought that our grant funds were going to cover the cost of the restroom at Pickleball. The grant funds didn't cover that, so we decided to get the restroom built at Pickleball, and we will re-budget for the McCarty restroom.
Sir? Questions or comments? And I can see it on my screen. I move to award the construction contract for city campus restroom, City of Show Low, project number FM 622 and L&B to L&B LLC in the amount not to exceed $131,500, and authorize associated budget transfers. Got a motion? I got a second? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, sir. Looks like they're almost done with them courts to me. Okay, next item on the agenda is summary of current events. Anybody down there?
I want to tell the Show Low girls basketball team, good job. They played good and they had a good season, and I was just super proud of them.
Yeah. Back-to-back 3A East champions. Councilman Alsop.
Yeah, I just want to ditto that with what Councilman Adams said. The girls and the boys did a great job this year. Now is the springtime stuff at the school, so you're playing baseball and you're playing softball and you're doing track. And so get out and support your local schools and watch the kids participate. Show Low won last night. The boys beat Coolidge Bears 17-2, so they had a great starting up here so for the first game. So let them kick some fanny the rest of the season. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? City Manager.
Mayor and Council, just a few items to report on tonight. We have a few public works projects going on. As you know, we have the City Park water line replacement project. And then we also are getting ready to start the East Mills parking lot over by the Nicholas Park. That'll be starting up soon. And then we also have some construction beginning in the city park detention pond, so look for some of those projects to get started. We have one finishing up in Fools Hollow. That water line replacement project should be finishing up pretty quick as well. And then just want to tell everybody to kind of look, one thing that we've been trying to get going again is youth flag football. And we've kind of got partnered up with a company that's going to help us get that going this year. So look for that to start signing up for that, and that'll hopefully be happening sometime in the May, probably timeframe to get started. Excited about that, and that's all I got.
Sure. Anybody need seconds? No? Scheduling meetings?
We just have our regular meeting on the 19th, and then on the 2nd, we'll have a regular meeting, but I think we have a budget study session that night at 6:30 to start. Yeah, on April 2nd, so if you can get that on your calendar.
Okay, next item on the agenda is going to executive session. We'll discuss consideration of employment assignment and meet with our city attorney. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Got a motion, I need a second. All those in favor? This time we're going to executive session. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it very much.